Nothing breeds competition and camaraderie in a community like sports. It gets your adrenaline pumping. Sports has a unique way of bringing people together. Your First Coast sports team understands that. We go beyond the X's and O's and to the heart of the game, where wins don't always make winners and the L's don't necessarily make losers, and where the highlights sometimes mean more than the trophy. Is where the real stories are told.
Sports Finals sponsored by Farrah and Farrah, Sunday nights at 11:30 and streaming on First Coast News Plus.
The first round of the 2025 NBA Draft tips off tomorrow night at 8 o'clock right here on ABC 25. And the Florida Gators will have 3 former players who could possibly hear their names called during the 2-day event. Joining me now to discuss the 2025 NBA Draft is Locked On Gators host Brandon Olsen. Brandon, so good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, love seeing you back here. Happy again after a very successful national championship run.
No doubt about it. Let's start with Walter Clayton Jr., the sharpshooter, who is projected to go in the first round. Which team or teams have shown Clayton the most interest?
We've heard a lot of traction in that 16 to 20 range, so I'm going to be honest, some spots I don't really want him to go. I'm hoping he doesn't go to Washington. I just not a fan of how they develop players there and how many careers have gone for players drafted there recently. So Washington, Brooklyn, Miami Heat could also be a spot, but he's expected to go right after the lottery. I do think that maybe a team can make a move a little bit before that, especially if they're just, like the Orlando Magic or a team that they just want to add shooters. They want to add some space. And there's quite a few teams like that where the NBA is just increasingly looking for guys that can shoot off the dribble and as catch and shoot players. Walter Clayton Jr. can obviously do both. And I do think that there's a lot of teams there that are going to be looking for that, especially if he makes it to, the 18 to 22 range. If he falls a little bit, then I think that there's a very good chance he won't be lasting much longer than that.
Clayton Jr. played his best ball in the Gators' biggest games on the way to leading them to the national title. How will his game translate to the NBA?
I think it translates very well right now. I think if we're having this conversation, 10, 15 years ago, then I don't think he would be as valued just because the 3-ball wasn't as valued. But now where every team is basically saying, hey, let's shoot as many threes as we can, I think Walter Clayton Jr. holds a lot of value for teams like that. I think he's going to come off the bench early on and contribute as a scorer, facilitate the offense a bit. I don't know what his ceiling is going to be. I think that a lot of that will depend on his defense. But I do think that offensively, he should be able to step in and contribute for a team significant minutes right away from day one.
And when you consider how he was able to create off the dribble during the Gators postseason run and what he was able to do during the postseason, I'm betting it will translate well to the NBA. Now, while Walter Clayton Jr. is a projected first-round pick, Alijah Martin and Will Richard are both expected to go in the second round of the draft. Starting with Richard, how do you think these two will pan out in the NBA?
From people I've spoken to, there are quite a few people that like Will Richard as someone to take maybe even late-ish on in the second round and be able to have a role not super early on, but let him sit, learn their system. But he's a guy that comes in, plays defense, hustles, runs in transition, and we just saw 2 teams in the NBA Finals that live off of that, just forcing chaos, running in transition, scoring there. I think that as you see this copycat league, as all sports are, then you're going to see more teams want to replicate that. And I think Will Richard is someone that can do that for a team right off the bench, step in, be able to run in transition, force turnovers, and just cause havoc, really. And I think teams are going to look for that late on day 2. I do think that he needs to probably develop his handles a little bit more just because he is, a smaller player than he is with college, where he could play the 3 at a high level. He could play even a little bit of the 4 if they need to. But in the NBA, I don't think he's got the game to do that. So I do think he needs to be able to be more guard friendly, I'll say.
What about Alijah Martin?
I think Alijah Martin's just going to be someone that if he makes a roster, which we'll see if that's what happens, he's probably going to be either a late second round pick or someone who signs as an undrafted free agent and has to kind of fight and claw his way there. But if he can develop the 3-ball, which needs to pick up a little bit, we know he's going to be able to come in, play defense, and similar to Will Richard, come in and create transition opportunities. So he's going to work out there. But the 3-ball really needs to pick up for Alijah Martin here in order to have a long NBA career or to stick in the league even for a few years. I think we're going to have to see him develop that three ball a bit more, become more consistent. But as far as, who can show up, who's going to have the mentality, the leadership, and all that, Elijah Martin's going to be there for it from day one.
So with a trio of Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin, and Will Richard all headed to the NBA, it's never too early to start talking about the future. Todd Golden has some key guys returning from that national championship team, most notable Alex Condon.
Yeah, Alex Condon coming back, Thomas Houck coming back, Ruben Chinyelu coming back. The team that had, and Micah Hanlogton as well, the team that had the best front court in college basketball in 2024 returns the best front court in college basketball in 2025. The backcourt's going to look obviously very different now. Starting five is going to look different. Thomas Houck is no longer going to be, America's sixth man. He's going to be coming in as the starting small forward there is the expectation right now with Thomas Houck at the three. Then you'll have Alex Condon and Ruben Chinyelu at the 4 and the 5. Xavier Lee at starting point guard. This is a team that's going to be really fun. Boogie Flant coming in from Arkansas as well. Todd Golden, he's gotten this reputation and the nickname of, Portal God Todd, and he's still that. He's still that guy, and he just did it again where so many people went into this tournament as, okay, no matter what happens here in the tournament, you're going to have to reload and rebuild after this year. And then Todd Golden just went, okay, challenge accepted, and went out there and did that. A.J. Brown coming off the bench is going to be huge as well. Shot 40% from three this past year for for Ohio. Shot 40% from three, is going to come in and be able to play off the bench right away. He's a big time spacer there. This team is ready for a repeat. And I will tell you this in full disclosure, I've already placed my bet for them to repeat again in 2025-26 season.
You said that after they won the national championship in San Antonio, and you're saying again now when you have success, usually you lose your top assistant. In Todd Golden's case, he's lost 3 of his assistants from that national championship team. Which assistants left, and what impact, if any, this will have on the Gators this season?
Most recently, Jordan Talley left just the other day. He was more of a player development assistant as opposed to being, an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator type of assistant. But he most recently left. He's going to Duquesne now as an assistant coach. So going to have more of an on-court role there. So, of course, that's one reason that we see people leave is to go advance, move on. You also had Kevin Hovde has left Florida to go be Columbia's head coach now, so he's going to be taking his offense there. He was here the whole time. And John Andrzejczyk is going to be leaving and being the head coach at Campbell. He was here not for Todd Golden's first year, but the most recent 2 years he was here as well. Todd Golden bringing in Jonathan Safire, who is a big part of the roster building aspect of this Florida Gators program, is now taking more of an on-court role. Carlin Hartman, who's been working with the big men primarily, he's going to be taking a bit of a larger role now. And then Dave Klatsky is coming over, who was the head coach at NYU, New York University, for the past 3 years. They've been just running roughshod over Division III basketball. So 2 New York rivals with Columbia and NYU are essentially trading to Florida. And I think that Dave Klatsky is going to play a big part in the offense. Todd Golden is still going to be the mastermind of the defense. But this team, they're reloading. They upgraded their coaching or updated their coaching staff with more analytically oriented coaches as well to replace the ones that left. But expectations are still the expectations. And as long as Todd Golden is the head coach of the University of Florida, I think the expectations are going to be to win a national championship. And I think they've got the roster and the staff to do it again in 2025.
Locked On Gators host Brandon Olsen, as always, bringing his A game. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, my friend.
Thank you.